Hello and welcome to Radio Labyrinth Presents Guests, or no, it's called Radio Labyrinth Presents Interviews because we have a guest and then we're going to interview him. So our guest tonight is Barry King, and Barry King is known on Twitter and other places as BKontheAir, and he is a person who digs movies, classic television, science fiction, comic books, and he's been into these things since he was a little kid, just like the rest of us. In 1983, he studied acting and voice at the Birmingham Performance Academy. From 82 to 84, he hosted his first regular radio program at AM 1560 WAGC in Center, Alabama. Or is it Centre? Because it ends with R-E. In the late 80s, began a long association with local independent production studios, making many films. His work has ranged from directing, producing, writing, and acting, as well as voiceovers. From 2013 to 2015, he was with AM 1270 WYXC as BK on the radio. He's been involved in radio for about 28 years and has won 2 Gabby Awards and 2 awards of merit from the Georgia Association of Broadcasters, who sadly overlooked me all these years. He is the retro geek of talk radio and fun at AM 1450 and 100.3 FM WBHF, which, if you don't live in the market, I believe you could probably stream someplace. Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. with BK on the air. Barry, welcome to the show.
Thanks, I appreciate it. You know, I would have booked a cruise on the SS Minnow to be on the Enter the Labyrinth. I wouldn't miss it for the world.
Well, it's been a long time coming. It was probably over a year ago. Hey, you want to come on the show? You said yes. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Then that little thing creeped into our lives that messed everything up. I'm starting to forget what it was, thank goodness.
Gil?
Yeah.
No, we all know. The word we're not going to say on this episode so we don't get flagged anywhere.
That's right.
But everybody knows what it is. Yeah, that's been a pain in the ass. I was going to ask you, you work, where is AM 1450 and 100.3 FM? Where is WBHF?
We're just in a small suburb just northwest of Atlanta called Cartersville up in Bartow County. I know that you guys, you especially affiliated with WSB in Atlanta, and I think they just had a birthday not too long ago. I think they're like 100 years old. But WBHF has been on the air since 1946, so they're a pretty old AM station too, which now FM as well and streaming. So I'm just proud to be a part of that little station up there that's been on the air as long as my mom's been born and is as old as the bikini. Oh, so that's cool.
And your program airs from 10 to 12. What kind of show is your show?
Well, 10 to noon on Saturday. It's just a retro, geeky, nostalgic trip into whatever I want it to be. I mean, growing up, which like a lot of us did, I'm from a divorced family. My mom raised both my sister and I was a latchkey kid, as they call it, in the late 70s. And she had to work for a living. And when we would come home from school, my sister and I, we had really wonderful babysitters. It was that little television in the living room that we watched. I had to hurry up and get home every day to my pals like Gilligan, Skipper, the Addams Family, and Captain Kirk and Mr. Spock, and whoever else was on the Beverly Hillbillies.
Did you have a superstation?
Yeah, we back when it was Channel 17. Yeah,
okay. Yeah. Sorry to interrupt, but I'm just curious.
Yeah. We were in a unique position growing up in Northeast Alabama. We lived up on a mountain called Lookout Mountain near Fort Payne, and we had an antenna on top of the house. And depending on which way I could go out and turn that antenna, out in the cold or in the rain or whatever, I could turn it toward Chattanooga, see all those stations. I could turn it around toward Birmingham, Alabama, and see all those stations, or I could turn it around toward Atlanta and pick up the Atlanta station. So we kind of had cable before cable was in vogue, because we were on the top of the mountain. So our signal was crystal clear for all these stations. So I grew up watching all that, loving all of it all these years. I thought, wow, I sure do love WKRP in Cincinnati. I sure would like to do a radio show. I'd like to see if those wacky personalities really exist at a radio station. And boy, did I find out that they did.
Yeah.
Over the years and different ones that I worked with. But I just thought I'd turn it into a radio show. We've got talk about sports. We've got talk about saving money. We've got talk about politics. I wanted to talk about what I was passionate about, which was retro, nostalgic, geeky stuff that I grew up with. And that's just basically what I do Saturdays, 10 to noon.
What were some of your favorite shows growing up?
Well, some of my favorite shows growing up obviously was I loved Star Trek. I loved watching just about anything science fiction. There was a show called Space 1999 with Martin Landau and Barbara Bain. You guys are probably familiar with that. Anything Jerry Anderson that produced. He did some puppet shows called Thunderbirds and Stingray and things like that. Sitcoms, whatever happened to be. If I didn't see it new and I saw it in syndication as a rerun, then it was new to me because I'd never seen it before. If it was a rerun. So loved all that stuff. There was a time where 3 different stations were showing Star Trek in the afternoon, and I would have 3 different Star Trek episodes on at the same time at one time or another. So that's really when Star Trek blew up, was in the 70s anyway, as a success. It wasn't that big of a success on TV, but that's just a few of my favorites that were on in the afternoon.
Have you had a chance to check out the director's cut of Star Trek: The Motion Picture yet?
I'm going to wait and see. I'm going to purchase a ticket and see Star Trek: The Motion Picture in the theater next month. They're releasing it in 4K in the Motion Picture Theater, and I'm going to go see it.
I should have waited. Maybe I'll go again because I forgot about that movie. I just remember being young and thinking it was boring. But after watching in succession, I watched, I think, 4 or 5 episodes of Picard. And then to switch from that to watching Star Trek: The Motion Picture, just how expansive it is and how slow and deliberate all the scenes are. And it's nice to turning off your brain and watching the ship. And I want to be in a theater to see those slow shots, the pan shots of the shuttles going to the Enterprise. And it's visually, I think it's as good. I mean, it's better than it was, I think. The restoration and the new effects.
It was. They've taken the director's edition and enhanced it. And back when they first did the director's edition in just a few years ago on DVD, they didn't save the footage of all the new stuff they did. They didn't save it in high def. They saved it all in standard definition. And I don't know why they did that, not thinking maybe in the future we might release it. Well, now they've gone back to the original negatives. They've got a new sound mix and Dolby Atmos for the theater. They've got different takes. They have extra scenes that you've never seen before and some taken out. This is one of those rare instances where they do a director's cut and it's shorter than the original movie was because they never got to do a cut of it. Back in the day, they had to rush this movie off to be released in the theater to meet the release date. So they never got the preview audience on that. So I hear it's really nice from the people that I've talked to in California that have seen it already at the Paramount lot. So I'm looking forward to it.
A big Dragon Con guy?
Not so much the past 2 or 3 years. We actually broadcasted. We were one of those rare radio stations that actually went down to Dragon Con a couple of years. I think it was 2014 or 13 and 14 when I was with WYXC in Cartersville, station that's no longer there. We broadcasted live from the Sheraton during Dragon Con at that time. Dan Carroll, a good friend that I know with Dragon Con, has set it up with him, and we set it up in the Sheraton and broadcast. And it was fun to interview people, talk to folks, and it's fun to go to. I don't go as much anymore as I used to, but if you've never been, you really need to go check it out and put it on your bucket list because it's something to see in Atlanta when it comes through.
It is a spectacle. That whole downtown area is usually insane because you have the Decatur Book Festival, you have what is that? The Chick-fil-A game, the kickoff, and all sorts of things going on. So it's a motley crew and assortment of people down there, and hopefully,
and the parade is free. You can go watch the parade, and it's fantastic. Yeah.
Hopefully this year there's even less restrictions. There weren't very many last year, but it'd be nice to just be back to normal.
Well, I'm trying to get a friend of mine to get invited. There's a procedure you go through Dragon Con to be invited as a guest. And I've got a good friend that lives out in California. His name's Michael Gray, and he starred as Billy Batson on the Shazam television series in the 70s. I don't know if you guys remember that.
Yeah, I do. Oh, yeah.
Rode around with the Mentor in the Winnebago camper saying Shazam and turning into Shazam. Well, he's a great guy. He lives out just north of Los Angeles now, and good friend of mine, and I'm trying to get him there to Dragon Con this year because he's got a lot. There's a resurgence in Shazam because there's a new Shazam movie coming out called Fury of the Gods, and you can see Shazam on Tubey now. The streaming channel of Tubi has all the episodes. So yeah.
Do they have ISIS too?
I don't think ISIS is on there, but who knows? They may put it on there. Yeah, Tubey's got a lot of new stuff.
They were together, right? They were together.
Oh yeah,
they
were bookends. Yeah.
Yeah. It was after all the cartoons were done. Now we'll do something, and then you'll have to be bored with American Bandstand.
Did you guys do that too? When American Bandstand came on, that meant I'm going out to ride my bike now.
Oh yeah, depended on who the artist was, but yeah, I mean, because sometimes they'd have somebody I didn't care for, but again, when you're 9 or 10 years old, there wasn't a lot of allure to watching teenagers dance.
Right. I didn't get into American Bandstand until the early 80s. Then they started having the 80s groups on there, and I'd watch them then. Yeah.
But I did like Soul Train, and there's 2 reasons I like Soul Train, because it was pretty much the same show. But I like Don Cornelius. I wanted to say Yukon Cornelius. Don Cornelius's voice was incredible, and then I loved the theme. You know, you knew that train was coming, that funky do and Soul Train. That was one I would stick around and watch. That Animals. What was that? Kids Are People Too was another one that was on later. Those shows were short-lived, but I like Kids Are People Too.
Thanks to you, Tim, I now have a picture in my head of Yukon Cornelius on the train going, the Soul Train, throwing the pickup. Yeah.
What about the Sid and Marty Krofft stuff? Were you into that?
Yeah, a lot of Sid and Marty Krofft. Yeah, when kids had an allegiance when I was a kid. We stuck to a certain network or something and watched only cartoons on this channel, and this guy watched these, and I would sneak in a Sid and Marty Krofft every now and then. A big fan of Sigmund and the Sea Monsters with Johnny Whitaker from Family Affair. The TV show, and I also liked the Electra Woman and Dinah Girl, the female Batman and Robin is basically who they were. That was good, and a lot of other stuff. Their stuff was really good, but I was stuck more over on CBS and Filmation and all those Arc 2 and Space Academy and Shazam and all those. That's the ones I was kind of stuck on watching. But yeah, I've seen a lot of them. Really, I
liked Arc 2. It always reminded me of that movie with George Papard and Jan Michael Vincent.
Are you talking about Damnation Alley?
Yeah. Well, they had sort of the same type of vehicle.
Yeah, you're right. That's right. It did look like that vehicle.
Now, the woman who played Isis, which was on with the Shazam show,
Joanna Cameron. Yeah.
She was one of the first women I noticed as a kid where I'm like, wow, she's kind of pretty.
You kind of flipped your switch there early in life, right?
Yeah, I didn't really know why, but I was like, yeah, I'd let her set up a caliphate in my country.
You'd let her save you from a raging forest fire, wouldn't you?
That's right. I wouldn't ride around in a Winnebago with an old man, but
no, not much of it. She just died last year. She passed away. She did. Yeah, she lived in Hawaii, and she made some appearances here and there. But she was a very nice lady. As Jackie Gleason would say, she was a nice lady.
What a nice lady. Give me a Diablo sandwich and a Dr. Pepper. Make it quick, because I'm in a goddamn hurry.
That's right.
Everybody, we all have questions for you, but before Dustin or Jeff go again, I wanted to ask, and I should have asked earlier, is there a podcast for your radio show? Can people get it in podcast form?
Yes. Every time I get off the air Saturdays at noon, I take a little lunch with Alan Sanders. You guys know Alan. And because Alan is before me on WBHF. His show actually is on before me Saturday morning, Waking Up with Alan. I tell everybody I wake up with Alan Sanders every morning. They don't believe me. But
a hell of a Friday night.
It's right. His wife hates it, but we have a good time every Saturday morning. When I get off, we go. Oh Lord, when I get off the air, we go have lunch, and I take all the local commercials out of my show, kind of remix it, add some classic commercials from the old days, some Schoolhouse Rock segments from just sound effects, just kind of George Lucas CGI it up a little bit, except with audio. And turn it into a podcast every week, and I release it. You can see it on. I don't have it everywhere. I have it all the freebie places because I'm not into paying for it just yet because I don't record it separately. It's just I kind of cheat. You guys go from the ground up with podcasts. I take something off the radio that's already been recorded and just turn it into a podcast and throw it out there and just take out local references. Spotify, Anchor, I have a YouTube channel with it, and Podomatic and SoundCloud. You can find it out there if you do a search for it. But yeah, it's out there. BK on the air.
I'm supposed to be, and I can't really talk that much about it on the podcast, but not yet anyway until it's announced. But I'm going to be starting my own Saturday or Sunday type show. I promise it won't be just nostalgia or just exclusive.
Hey, I'm in the small market radio station. Our station's that big, but so you don't have to worry about me.
Well, no. I need to figure out what exactly I'm going to be doing, and
okay.
And it'll be a lot of local stuff and stuff. But I want to figure out how to take that, because I want to use a lot of sound. And Dustin has a hard time because when we use a lot of sound and stuff. Dustin, correct me if I'm wrong, but sometimes we end up getting, copyright hits.
Yeah, we get hit with copyright hits from time to time when I'm the looser I get with trying to use as much as I can, and get hit with those. But yeah, I'd love to have more, because I've listened to your podcast, and I like the all your audio drops. They're
I appreciate.
They're nice.
I get hit too, guys. I get hit on YouTube is where I get hit with the copyright thing. So, because we're a radio station, so when I'm coming back from a break, I've got a bumper music playing that's Genesis, ELO, or Boston or something like that. But I kind of, when I'm in the editing process, I do have to chop it down where we're really talking over it, which is great, which helps mask it. But every now and then, that one song is gets hit or whatever, and I have to do something about it. So it's okay. I don't get flagged with anything else, which is, thank goodness. I'm just got my fingers crossed. It's okay.
Dustin has to edit out all Tim's "Stop the Steal" nonsense that he keeps trying to.
Yeah, I haven't gotten over it yet. And I have to pepper it into every show, try to sneak it in one way or the other.
Damn those bots, all to hell. Damn those bots.
A maniac.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, stay away from the Eagles and the Beatles, because we were doing a segment once where there was like a little snippet of a Beatles song or the Eagles, and buddy, it was almost like Glenn Fry was knocking on my door with an axe, like Jack from The Shining, knocking my door down.
Yeah, Kenny Rogers' estate is about the same way.
Oh, really? Wow. Okay, I'll remember that.
We didn't get any hits on our singing
all the themes. No, yeah. but I do hate going back to the Zoom thing. Yeah, where all of us key in at 4 different times trying to sing a song. That's not maddening or anything.
No. Wow.
Yeah, it sounded great.
I find out sometimes using live versions of songs when they're using is the good part of it. When they're singing, you can't hear the crowd very well. That seems to fool the bot sometimes. So I always keep that in mind. Yeah,
it keeps the algorithms off. Most reaction videos you see are of live performances as opposed to the stuff from the labels. Yeah.
We've come a long way. I mean, my goodness, back when I was a kid, I would watch Space 1999 and all these shows, and eventually, we have the flip phone. We had a flip phone like Kirk's communicator. We've got these. If you'd have told me we'd had bots on some kind of platform like this that could hear a song and know what it is just by listening to it or whatever, I would have laughed at you. I would never believe that in the future. It's crazy. And where are we going to go with this?
When we were kids, we had to call the DJ the smartest person on earth.
That's right.
I would call DJs for anything. Hey, do you know the capital of blah, blah, blah? I don't know, kid.
DJ Google. Yeah.
Yeah. But no, I would call a DJ. If you needed to know who sang a song, even if it wasn't on the radio, because you could call at any time except overnights, and sometimes even overnights, but you could call a radio station. Right. Some guy would answer the phone, or a gal, but mostly guys.
Well, that's cool. I see you have your 96 Rock t-shirt on. I was able to hang out with Willard and John Boy up at Rockin' Shop in Cartersville about 3 weeks ago. They came on my show and I interviewed them live because they were at Rockin' Shop. It's a vinyl record collector store up in Cartersville, and they were doing a signing and an autograph appearance, and it was fun. So I got to hang out with those guys after not hearing them for years. It was great seeing those guys again.
Willard, I think, owns the logo trademark, so hopefully
good.
I think he gets reimbursed anytime you buy one. I still see, believe it or not, to this day people driving with the upside down 96 Rock logo on their front license plate place. Oh, I don't know what you call it.
Saw one this morning.
You did? I saw one yesterday. So
yeah, I saw one 2 weeks ago.
I don't know that I have an original license plate.
License plate holder.
But I do have one from when I worked there, We brought it back in 2004, 2003, 2004, because that was their 30th anniversary or 20th. Yeah, 30th anniversary. So we had one that had they made the 96 Rock logo a flag, because we were at war.
Right.
Hey, go, fuck you, sit down.
Well, we were talking with Willard and John Boy, and I'm like, you don't see, we had a lot of, you remember the stations in Atlanta, talk about nostalgia. You had 96 Rock. I remember fondly, Z93 for a long time was the pop station in Atlanta from 70s to early 80s. And they've all changed format over the years. And 94Q, WQXI, interesting enough is where Hugh Wilson worked with, to have the WKRP idea was from 94Q, from what I understand. So Johnny Fever was based on Skinny Bobby Harper in Atlanta. But I told those guys, I said, listen, when I look around at memorabilia that you can still get, I don't see Z93 tags and T-shirts and stuff. And I don't see WQXI tags as T-shirts still. I still see 96 Rock stuff.
Yep.
And that says a lot, I guess.
Yeah. And I think it does because those stations had personalities, Quick C and the other stations had personalities, but they weren't really branded with anything. And Z93 changed so much. That signal's changed so much because it was Z93, then it was Dave FM, and now it's The Game. It went from classic rock, more of a classic hits format, to whatever you want to play, which was the Dave format, which when I worked there was U2 and the Rolling Stones pretty much exclusively. And then sports talk. So that's 3 different formats. A station like 96 Rock was Heritage Rock Station. It flipped. It became Power 96 one, but Larry from the regular guys called it 96 one, and I think that was right. The station was just not for me. And then now, what is it? Power 96, whatever.
Something, who knows? I don't even know.
But there's no new rock music, so what's the point of having a rock station?
Right. We all had our station we grew up with. Mine one is in Gadsden, Alabama, and it was called Q104. So everybody kind of has their. Alan Sanders had one he remembered from Detroit, Michigan. But 96 Rock. What did they used to say about 96 Rock? It was the station that you grew up and threw up to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had.
You threw it up. You're throwing up.
That's what I had. 94 Rock, WLVY, Elmira Recording, Ithaca. And then, or it was Elmira, Horseheads, whatever the fuck. And what other station we had? KZ 106, which was a top 40 station.
KZ 106, Chattanooga has a KZ 106 too. Yeah.
Really?
Classic rock. Yeah.
How about 104.5 WNBT? I'm Bob Barker. What was his name, Jeff?
I can't remember what his name was. Bob something.
There are still songs, because I recorded a lot of songs off the radio. Okay, I'll give you an example. I was listening to Billy Joel just put out a new collection of greatest hits, right? Collection of greatest hits. So I listened to the Piano Man. At the end of Piano Man, I still in my head hear that DJ say the line, Billy Joel, Piano Man, WNBT. Because I recorded it.
You hear it every time you hear it now, right? You hear that. Even if it's not there, yeah.
It could be any song or songs from mixtapes I made in the 80s or 90s. When I hear that song on the radio, I expect the next song to be the next song on the cassette.
Oh, yeah. I remember it well. I got fired for trying to be a DJ once in an old station in Center, Alabama, my first job.
Really?
They hired me. This was a local station, WAGC 1560 AM in Center, Alabama. The kind of station where at 12 o'clock every day they would read the obituaries to everybody. So they're ready to go.
And it's better than the nuns I had to play every day for half an hour doing the rosary.
Oh wow. I didn't understand the meaning of that when I was younger, but now as I get older, I'm like, okay, I can understand why somebody older needs to know who died because they're interested in knowing. Well, I was sitting there just working there while I was still in high school, and I'm thinking, well, I get to do the time and the temperature at the top of the hour before I play these things. Why don't I just sneak in every now and then? I'll just say, hey, this is WAGC AM 1560 in Center, Alabama. By the way, did you see The Incredible Hulk last night? What a great episode that was. I just started talking about it. Then eventually I just moved on into that. And the guy brought me in and he goes, listen, we don't need to be talking about the Incredible Hulk or anything, because we don't do that on the station. We're country gospel, and we play the obituaries, and that's about it. So he told me to stop doing it. So I didn't stop doing it. I did it again. And he said,
of course,
you could probably use your talent somewhere else instead of here, because you're not fitting in here very well. Maybe out on a CB radio or something like that you could get on. But that was the first job I lost because I didn't listen to management. So I guess I never learned.
Did you sneak a booger on the air?
Sneak a booger.
Booger.
I probably could have, yeah. Booger.
I've done that, but there's nothing. It's the only one I could find, but this is a mixtape. Let's see. I usually put the dates on them. I don't know the date. Doesn't have the date on it, but I guarantee you it was made in 1990.
Oh, wow.
Or 93. It's called Available Only from the Franklin Mint, because I cut that out of a magazine.
Oh, wow.
And then the cover has Cindy Crawford, Elvis, and Butthead.
And Butthead. That's a heck of a cover. I love that.
And I don't even know what's on it, because the track listing isn't. I guess Steely Dan's on it, because one side says they got a name for the winners in this world. So, I have another one that I put OJ, and then there's
Alabama
one.
Crimson Tide. Yeah, there we go.
Did you used to do like your tape fake radio shows in your room when you were a kid, like Tim did?
Oh, yes, I did. I had a red Panasonic cassette tape player. If I showed you guys a picture of it, you've probably seen it before. It's red with a handle on the end of it. And, and it didn't even have an AC adapter. It was battery only. So I had to just make sure I had enough money to buy some batteries, because those big batteries were, they weren't cheap with a kid with no income. But yeah, I did my own mix. I interviewed my family so many times that they wanted to throw me out of the house. And
I did that too.
But
hey, Grandpa, what's it like being an electrician? I told you that a week ago.
Did you ever record things like off the television, just the audio, and then listen to it later?
Did you guys hire a private eye about me or something?
No, I think we're all like-minded in this.
We are. We're all mind melding here. Yes, I did. In the days with no VCRs back in those days, I would record audio, just set that thing right in front of the TV speaker and record Star Trek, record Gilligan's Island, record as much as I could till I ran out of tape, because, we didn't have a endless supply of cassette tapes. And sometimes I'd go, oh no, I've got to record over that to record this. So you guys know that you feel the pain. You've been there. There's the batteries would go dead, and I couldn't buy batteries. So you know what I did? I thought, well, you know what? If I warm these batteries up, they might have a little more power in them. So I took the batteries and I just turned the oven on about 300 degrees and put them in there. It's not going where you think it's going yet, but the first time it worked. I put them in there about 10 minutes. They did not blow up. They were kind of hot. So I took them out, put them back in my recorder. It worked for another 10 to 20 minutes. It was great. The third time I tried to do that, the batteries they cracked, and the crap just came out of them into the stove, and I had to explain that to my mom when she got home. So, but it worked once.
The final episode of MASH, Goodbye, Farewell, and Amen, we didn't have VCR yet. So I recorded it all on cassettes, and I would listen to it over and over again. That is one thing I remember. So I think it was 2 cassettes that took me to record the whole thing. I wish I still had it, because I recorded the commercials too. And then the other one was, there was this special that came out sometime in the maybe early 80s. It was Jerry Lewis hosting a tribute to the Little Rascals. And
oh, really?
Yeah, and I wish I still had that, because you can't find that. Maybe it's on YouTube.
I've never even heard of that. That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, he's talking about him. It is Spanky. Yeah, it was Spanky. And it really was cool. I love the Little Rascals. This is before I knew.
Yeah, our game was the best. I mean, they transcend generations, because I've got a nephew now that he's turned, is he 28? He's 26 years old now. He's 26. And when he was younger, he would watch them like I would watch them. And the next generation of kids is watching them just like we did. So I
and the old ones, right? Not the new.
Yeah, the old black and whites. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, before we continue, sorry, I keep digressing here, but I want to show you a couple more of my mixtapes. So,
no, that's fine.
This one, I don't know really what's on it, but you can tell when it was made.
Wow. Where's the picture of him holding the gun from? That's amazing.
A movie. I don't know.
There's a movie. Okay. Wow.
And then there's this one, also probably from the same time.
Oh, well.
Is that Emmanuel Lewis?
No,
some of them.
Random kids cut out of a catalog. And this is my oldest one. It doesn't have any artwork on it.
Any better?
No. This one is from March of 1989. 34 years, 33 years.
Yeah.
That's a long time ago. So, yeah, it has Edie Brickell, Madonna, Crosby. Okay, I don't want to read anymore. Madonna.
What's the All in the Family thing you have behind you, Tim? What is that? I'm making that out.
This is a book I got for Christmas that I haven't read yet.
Like a compendium?
Yes, it was mentioned on Gilbert Gottfried's Amazing Colossal Podcast, and it's
awesome podcast.
Norman Lear, Jimmy Kimmel, and Jim Colucci. And I need to read it. But,
it's a good book. Came out with different covers. I've seen it with a white cover on the front, instead of a red. I think they re-released it 2 or 3 times differently. I don't have any props with me, guys, but I think I do have this with me.
Nice.
I brought this down.
That's cool. That's original.
In case anything happens, I'm armed.
Jeff has a communicator that William Shatner wouldn't sign. He came into the regular guy studio, and I said, "Hey, would you mind?" And he didn't even let me finish. He went, no.
It's signed by Dwight Schultz though from the A-Team.
Oh, there you go. He's not a douche.
Well, you guys had Bruce Campbell in. I thought that was fantastic because I'm a big fan of Bruce and Sam Raimi movies, and I'm so glad Sam's directing the new Doctor Strange movie back with Marvel again because he directed the old Sony Spider-Man movie. So that's going to be fun to look out for.
Yeah, how about we got a bunch of clickbait press because of that interview too?
That's great. See, that's great. I just know that Sam Raimi likes putting Bruce in his films, and I also know he likes putting his parents' Cutlass 88 Oldsmobile in his movies. I'm going to be looking for them in the Doctor Strange movie. See where they are.
So your social media presence is pretty cool. You maintain I know you're on Facebook, but really I see you mostly on Instagram and Twitter. You don't get caught up in a lot of drama. You don't get caught up in the politics, which I did a couple years ago and
right
don't do anymore. But you really, you do a good job of, hey, today is so-and-so's birthday, and you find the right images and stuff. And I like following you for that, but who are some of the people that you follow that kind of do that thing? Anybody pop out that you like?
Yeah, you guys have been talking to, actually had him on your show not too long ago, my good buddy, Pat McCormick from the Golden Rage of TV.
Yeah.
Pat's a good friend of mine. He does a segment on my show every Saturday that records just for me, and I'm very grateful that he does that. And he's decided to do that, and I love partnering with him on that. And there's another guy named Dave Sudstrom that has a great YouTube channel and social media presence as well that does that. So those are 2 guys that I really like keeping up with. They're friends with me, and we correspond. I was just on their show I was just on Pat McCormick's show a couple of weeks ago where we talked about Star Trek, the original series, and sharing our favorite episodes and what we liked and things like that and grew up and remembered about. So there's a lot of them out there that do that. I also big fan of the Wilder Ride with Alan Sanders and Walt Murray. You guys know those guys too, and I've been on their show. And Alan and Walt's come on my show a lot. We're best of pals, and just love talking about Gene Wilder movies with him or whatever subject that we want to do. We do a Halloween show every Halloween at WBHF. That station gives us, that radio station, to do whatever we want, within FCC guidelines, of course, but we don't break the rules like that. But we got a pretty much carte blanche to do up there at WBHF, whatever we want. You don't get that a lot when you work with radio stations because we're kind of a smaller outfit. But what is small now? Sure, you may have a giant tower that's got 50,000 watts. Ours is 2,500, I think. But with streaming now, people can hear you anywhere. So it doesn't really trap you within your signal anymore. I get emails from Ecuador, Washington State, Austria that listen to the show, and I get a kick in the butt just from that. I can't believe someone in Austria is listening to what I'm talking about on this radio station show that I do, because he can stream it and listen to it. It's the best thing to happen to anybody that does radio in so many years.
Now, going back to the Halloween show, now I know you're a big horror fan as well. Now recently, in my opinion, there's kind of been a drought of horror films Anything that you might be able to shed light on that you've liked recently or you could recommend?
Well, that you make a good point. Not really, because there has been a drought of horror films, a drought of good horror films. Let's just say the movies have been coming out, but they've been terrible. I can't believe. And I think it all started with Saw. The movie Saw, because when you take an element of a horror film out where you're actually pursuing somebody to go get them, like Jason's chasing you, Michael Myers is chasing you, you're hiding from someone. Well, in the movie Saw, they're already captured already and they're just being tortured. So, and I'm not saying it wasn't an intense film. It was an intense horror film. It was, and its subsequent sequels I don't think were as good. But when you take certain elements out of a horror film, like the element of pursuit after the prey or whatever, you lose something, and you put all, again, I'm going to sound like an old granddad here. You put all the emphasis on special effects and then you lose everything because there's no story. So I was watching television the other night, and one of the best horror films I've ever seen was on that not many people have seen. And it's called The Wicker Man from 1974 with, you guys remember The Equalizer, Edward Woodward, the TV show The Equalizer? He starred in it. He was a great Irish actor. And it's a great horror film because it's got a great story. The original Psycho with Anthony Perkins. Go into a little later now. There was a movie that came out called Darkness Falls about the Tooth Fairy a few years ago. I don't know if you guys ever saw that.
Yeah, it's good.
But it was an Australian film, one of the later ones, in the last 15, 20 years. I still think that's later than older. But there's still some things out there if you look for them. But yeah, the horror is in a sorry state right now, kind of like rock radio in Atlanta. Sorry. Oh, did I say that? Sorry.
Okay. I work for a talk station. Tubey has a good selection sometimes of horror movies. They also have really good documentaries.
They do. Tubey's great, and they don't play a lot of ads. They play some, but they're not as many as the other channels play. Yeah.
Right, and they give you, and it's free. Like I pay for Paramount Plus, and I got to sit through commercials during Picard or whatever I'm watching on there.
Yeah, right. You can go to Tubey though and watch like The Devil's Rain and
Devil's Rain.
Yeah,
it scared the crap out of me as a kid. Yeah, it did. See Bill Shatner's face melt like that. It's just
remember Tarantula? He was in that.
Kingdom of the Spiders. Kingdom of the Spiders. Yeah. Oh yeah, it was a great movie. He wanted to do a sequel to that. I talked to him. He was in Gwinnett County promoting UPN Channel 69 many years ago, and I got to talk to him and do a little mini interview with him. And he wanted to do a sequel to Kingdom of the Spiders, and they wouldn't let him do it. I don't know why. So.
Well, that's when I wrote Tech 9. Or what was that book series called?
Tech War. Yeah.
Tech War.
Tech War.
Tech 9.
Yeah.
Well, I have. I always think about that. You ever see the Larry Sanders where they have him on the phone and they're all making fun of him?
Right. Yeah.
Well, I don't want to do a Star Trek. I mean, I have this and this. Hey, it's Larry. Would you mind doing Star Trek? Oh, I'd love to.
Leonard Nimoy had a great thing to say about Shatner's career. He goes, this guy has gone from being, the leading man in the 50s and 60s in Star Trek to the 70s, which wasn't that great till the first movie that we talked about that's been remastered, Star Trek Motion Picture. When it hit, he kind of took off again. Then he got in, people knew him as TJ Hooker, the cop show. But how many people can reinvent themselves and basically make a career and make money making fun of themselves? Man, wouldn't that be an easy thing to do?
Yeah.
I do that for free.
And playing the same character in everything that you're in. Yeah.
Plus, he got to go into space. How cool was that? The oldest man to go into space. I think that's incredible.
I don't want to go into space. I would crap my pants. I don't want to.
It's going to float all around the place if you do that. That's going to be bad.
Be like Homer floating through eating the chips. If that is your name, Buzz.
Right.
Well, we just had a whole episode about TV theme songs. What's your favorites? What's your favorite?
I saw that. Yeah, I can't remember if I posted on your YouTube the comments if I put my favorite ones in there too. That someone we talked about that several months ago, and for me, the one theme that I always go back to, and even the title sequence while the theme is playing, is probably the best one ever in this entire world, is Hawaii FiveO, the original Hawaii FiveO. That whole theme with the cameras zooming up to Jack Lord on the top of that building and all the shots of Hawaii and the Ventures remaking it into a top 40 hit. That's just probably one of the best TV theme show songs ever written.
We talked about that a little bit. Yeah, that is such a good one. I never liked the show, but I like the theme. But I think it's because that show was a little too mature for me.
What's funny you say that. I'm rediscovering Hawaii Five-0. I'm watching it on, I can't remember who's showing it. I think it's someone on Pluto showing it, the great streaming channel Pluto.
That was good too.
And I'm watching it and I'm rediscovering it. I'm like, I didn't watch this as a kid, but watching it now, I'm like, this show is incredible. It's violent. It's gritty. And it's awesome. I'm enjoying a Hawaii Five-0 renaissance. I think it's great. Give it
the last time I watched it, Christopher Walken was young and he had blonde hair and he was in the Navy and he was in trouble. Remember that?
Yes, I do. I think I watched that one.
Yeah. Oh,
and Eric Estrada was holding somebody hostage with a gun the other night that I was watching one of the episodes, like on a cliff. I'm like, oh no, punch.
Yeah, I think I would appreciate it now, being able to pick, oh, that's so-and-so, that's so-and-so. You get that same thing with Columbo, even though Columbo's stars were, big for the most part.
Oh, yeah. Now, Patrick McGowan, I think, was on Columbo several times as a killer, the guy from Secret
Prisoner.
Agent. Yeah, and The Prisoner. Yeah, he was a great actor, too.
Any new show that you like a lot?
My wife takes care of most of the new shows. I'm actually going backwards now, and like I say, I'm in a renaissance of discovering older shows. I started with the Dragnet radio show with Jack Webb, and subsequently took me right into the 50s version of Dragnet, all the way up to the 60s, all the way up to the last season in 1970s. And I hit every Dragnet over the past year and saw every episode of Dragnet. It was a genius show. Jack Webb was a genius. Just the new Marvel stuff. I mean, I'm watching the new Star Wars shows when they come out, Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett, the upcoming Obi-Wan Kenobi, which I'm really looking forward to. And Moon Knight is blowing my socks off. I'm really enjoying the heck out of Moon Knight. It's bizarre, but it's great.
I still haven't seen it yet. I got to watch it.
I think you'll like it if you like the MCU. It's really bizarre and off the chain, but it's cool.
I want to work on a hair. See, I can't do it. I want to do a Harry Morgan impression. It's hard to do that.
And you do him from Dragnet. It is different from MASH. You're right.
Yeah.
They're both very different.
He's in the movie too. I forget that every now and then. But
with Dan Aykroyd. That actually was a sequel film. He was wasn't Dan Aykroyd Friday's nephew or something or grandson?
Yeah, his nephew. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like Pep Streebek.
Streebek.
My favorite line from that, yes, my favorite line from that movie though is Muzz, Amel, Muzz. I still say that to myself sometimes. Muzz, Amel, Muzz. Or what's that other line? There's so many good ones. Go to talk about my if you the beat magazine. That is an underappreciated film, I think.
Well, you could do a whole show on spinoffs because you're all in the family thing behind you. Spun off so many shows. Dragnet, Jack Webb spun off so many shows. He went into Dragnet, went into Adam 12, and Adam 12 spun off into Emergency, the fire department show, which was great. Jack Webb's last show was Project UFO back in the late 70s.
I remember that.
Force guys.
That show scared me.
Did you ever catch Jack Webb's jazz album?
Yes, and I think that's hard to find.
It is very hard to find, but it's very similar to Shatner's musical journey that he made.
Yeah, that's great stuff. Jack Webb was great, and Harry Morgan always said, "Yeah, Jack was good. He cracked a joke about once a month on the set. Okay, stays in character." Yeah,
Jack Webb show Project Blue Book, which was another alien show or a UFO show.
Yeah, it was ahead of its time. I think it probably came along long before the X-Files. So
yeah,
the X-Files was very popular. So yeah.
So it's a Project UFO. I remember that because it opened up and it was scary as shit when you're 7 years old, thinking about aliens and UFOs. I mean, it scared me. Ezekiel saw the wheel.
That's right. And it was Jack Webb saying that, and it was just scary.
That was Jack Webb. All right, I got to find the intro to that. See how much I've learned today. Barry King, tell everybody again when they can hear you or where they can find you online.
Well, I appreciate you having me, guys. It's BK on the air. I'm live 10 a.m. to noon Eastern on WBHF radio. It's locally 100.3 FM, AM 1450. WBHFradio.org is where we string the show. You can download the TuneIn app and the Radio Garden app, both free apps, and hear us live there. And I also turn it into a podcast, and just look for me there, BK on the air. Just do a search for BK on the air podcast. It'll point you in the right direction.
All right, man. Well, thank you for coming on. We'll definitely talk to you again soon.
Thank you guys, and I'll see you soon. Take care.